Good evening, everybody. And shalom to those that will be listening later online. Yahweh is always faithful, and even when we don't understand things that are going on in our life, we know that He is in control, and we choose to continue to walk in obedience to you, Yahweh. So the song that He had put on my heart, the psalm, is Psalm 120 in the Septuagint, but it's Psalm 121 Masoretic versions. And this is a real prophetic psalm of what's to come, but that we can just rest in Him, that He is keeping us as we are the apple of His eye.
Keep her slumber.
promise even forever. Even forever, forever. Yahweh shall keep your coming in and your going out, now and forever. Even forever. We just declare your promises. Rejoice in Yahweh, all you righteous, for praise from the upright is beautiful. Rejoice in Yahweh, all you righteous, for praise from the upright is beautiful. Our soul waits for Yahweh, He is our help and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in Him, because we have trusted in His holy name. Let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. Rejoice in Yahweh, you righteous, for praise in the upright is beautiful. Rejoice in Yahweh, you righteous, for praise from the upright is beautiful. Our soul waits for Yahweh, He is our help and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in Him, because we have trusted in His holy name. Oh, let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let your mercy, Yahweh, be upon us, just as we obey you. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe. Stand in awe. We stand in awe of you. Love Yah is perfect, converting souls. God's testimony is faithful, instructing babes. The ordinances are not right. The commandment of Yah is bright, rejoicing the heart, enlightening the eyes. Fear of Yah is pure, enduring forever. The judgments of Yah are true, and justified altogether. once again, we just ask for your wisdom, your discernment in our lives. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Who has gathered the winds in the fold of his robe? Who has wrapped up the waters in a garment? Who has dominion of all the ends of the earth? What is his name, or the name of his children? What is his name? Yahweh, Yahweh. What is his name, or the name of his children? What is his name? Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Yahweh has taught me wisdom, and I know the knowledge of the holy. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Who has gathered the wind in the fold of his robe? Who has wrapped up the waters in a garment? Who has dominion of all the ends of the earth? What is his name, or the name of his children? What is his name? Yahweh, Yahweh. What is his name, or the name of his children? What is his name? For all Yah's words are tried in the fire, and he defends those that reverence him. Not to his words that he reprove you, and you being made a liar. For all Yah's words are tried in the fire, and he defends those that reverence him. And not to his words lest he reprove you. And you being made a liar. Yes, Yahweh, your words are true. You are truth. Thank you that you are our defender. We do not need to defend ourselves. That you defend those that reverence you. We worship you, we bow our knees. You are our authority. For all God's words are tried in the fire, and he defends those that reverence him, and not to his words lest he reprove you. You be made a liar. Thank you for teaching us wisdom. Thank you for teaching us truth. We want to know you more. Open our spiritual eyes, Abba Yahweh. We want to see you. We want to know you. We want to know your ways and walk in your path. In your path. sackcloth and with gladness girded me, that my glory may sing praise to thee, that I may not be pierced with sorrow. Yahweh, my Elohim, I will give thanks to thee. Yahweh, my Elohim, I will give thanks to thee forever. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim, I will give thanks to thee. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim. You have lifted me up and not caused my enemies to rejoice over me. I will exalt thee. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim, I cry to thee, and you yield thee. You've lifted me up and not caused my enemies to rejoice over me. I will exalt thee. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim, I cry to thee, and you yield thee. Sing to Yahweh, you his saints, for the remembrance of his holiness. Give thanks. Give thanks. Sing to Yahweh, you his saints, for the remembrance of his holiness. Give thanks. Give thanks. You have turned my mourning into joy for me. You've torn off my glad cloth and then with gladness girded me, that my glory may sing praise to thee, and that I may not be pierced with sorrow. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim, I will give thanks to thee. Oh Yahweh, my Elohim, we give you thanks forever, forever. Oh Yahweh, in everything we give thanks. We give thanks to you. We give thanks. I just want to ask for forgiveness sometimes when we're just so focused on asking for what we need, even what we desire. And I know you want to hear us, our every word and every detail of our lives. You're just a part of it all, and you just want us to confide in you and to just speak to you and to listen to you. But sometimes we don't give thanks enough. We just want to thank you. We just want to give you praise. You gave us breath in our lungs today. You kept us safe today. We give thanks. We have food in our bellies. We have a roof over our heads. Just thank you right now, even to give us supernatural peace amidst whatever situations we're going through in our lives. Oh, we give thanks. Oh. now and forever. Strengthen us, equip us, anoint us, fill us to be able to continue to walk on this path of truth as we are getting tested. But you are allowing these tests to refine us, to purge us, to see who's loyal to you, no matter what the cost is. Just help us to see with your eyes. Help us to see this with your eyes, Ally. I know you allow these things to happen. And just may nothing wicked, no iniquity, no transgressions, no unforgiveness or resentment, bitterness even get rooted into our hearts. Help it just to get yanked out of us quickly, short accounts. So even right now, I just say, cleanse us from anything secret, and cleanse us from any secret sins, and we just surrender to you. We love you. YHWH, and we thank you. Continue to be with us as we go deep in your truth and in your word today. Amen.
Thank you, Davene, for leading us in praise to our Elohim Yahuwah. As the psalm goes, it is great to sing praises to your name in the morning. And it's still a blessing to be free, to give praise, to worship, and to be thankful for everything that is given. And I'm thankful for those who made it out tonight on this 4th of November 2019, and those who would eventually stumble across this video on social media. So we are still in Genesis chapter 24, and it is part 3 of the study, A Wife for My Beloved Son. And tonight, news headline is called Taking Flight. Jacob, where are your children? Are they scattered to the four corners of the earth? Who did this, and who would gather them back? In the 90s, the Israeli government did an audacious operation to airlift people termed Ethiopic Jews from Ethiopia to Israel. This operation was done with the Boeing-made 700 series aircraft. And
the headline is, Queen of the Skies, LL draws tribute in the air as iconic 747s used in Israel's Operation Solomon retire. And FYI, I met the founder of that operation in Ethiopia when I was there once.
And this is from RT News, taken from November 3rd, 2019.
Israeli airline LL laid on a fitting tribute Sunday to mark the end of its use of the huge Boeing 747 aircraft dubbed Queen of the Skies by aviation fans, with the pilots tracing an enormous plane in the skies. The impressively detailed pattern was traced out as the aircraft headed from Rome to Tel Aviv on its last flight for LL. The aircraft, which is being retired by airlines around the world, holds a particularly special place in the history of LL. The airline used the planes as a key element of Operation Solomon, a covert military operation which airlifted 14,500 Ethiopian Jews out of Addis Ababa and brought them to Israel in May 1990. 35 flights made the journey over a 36-hour period.
Though this airlift is a record to behold, when Yah indeed returns all of the exiles of Israel from the four corners of the earth, it would be a record no human effort can top. At the moment, all the prophecies concerning Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the household of Israel would be fulfilled in its true fullness.
Amen.
And you will see how this sort of fits into the Bible study tonight, and with some of the songs of praise, it's hinting at that already. So our study reminders, it's to equip, and the intention is for you to go deeper into Yah's word and you to gain insights on your own and come to informed conclusions.
And don't take our word for it.
And don't take our word. And lastly, we should always have respect for each other. Unfortunately, people want to get their point of view across and they lose respect for one another, and we always want to maintain that.
Yep.
Always. So now we are in Genesis 24, and we are continuing from verse 48.
And being well pleased, I worshipped Yahuwah, and I blessed Yahuwah, the Elohim of my master Abram, who has prospered me in a true way, so that I should take the daughter of my master's brother for his son.
So we are still continuing with worship. I bless the Elohim of Abraham. So shall the saying of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing continually before thee, O Yahuwah, my helper and my redeemer. And this is from Psalm 18, and we just sang that song. The heart of worship is one's actions and humility at any moment before Yahuwah Elohim. At the instant Abraham's servant saw that his way was prospered, he did something that came natural and spontaneous, and that's worship. And hopefully that little caption image to the right gives that understanding of what worship is.
Your actions and words are at the heart of worshiping Yahuwah in spirit and truth. In the previous study, it was highlighted what true worship of Yahuwah Elohim was, and taking a stand against unsanctioned worship. It is imperative that those who choose to follow Yahuwah Elohim understand where the alternative to true worship can lead the individual.
Standing strong in the face of adversity is what Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, a.k.a. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, did when called upon to commit unsanctioned worship. Their stand showed the power of the true Elohim, leaving King Nebuchadnezzar no choice but to acknowledge and declare, and this is from Daniel 3:28.
And King Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants because they trusted in him. And they have changed the king's word and delivered their bodies to be burnt, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God.
And this is what we all need to do in any circumstance that we face. Stand strong.
And that's with a certainty.
So continuing under worship, we have good figs versus rotten figs.
Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah ended up in this situation, in part because of the false prophets, inept judges, corrupt priests, and wishy-washy kings that lived and adjudicated among them. These official voices and actions, along with many of the people's willingness to obey them, is the genesis, no pun, of their situation as related by the prophet Jeremiah.
So here we have some good figs and some rotten figs. So this is taken from Jeremiah 24, 1 and 2. Yahuwah showed me 2 baskets of figs laying in front of the temple of Yahuwah, after Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried captive Jeconiah, son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes, and the artificers, and the prisoners, and the rich men out of Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. The one basket was full of very good figs, and the other early figs. Full of very good figs as the early figs, and the other basket was full of very bad figs, which could not have been eaten for their badness. And please read the entire chapter in context. It goes into the whole situation with why some are called good figs and why some are called bad figs. And you'll see how it led the 3 men and their compatriots into Babylon to subsequently have to face the situation of choosing whether to worship a false, or not a false, but to do unsanctioned worship. So that's the whole key to this, to bring that situation to fullness.
Standing in defiance to the king of Babylon, the 3 men gave an example of what trusting in Yahuwah is all about. There are many striking parallels in their situation, Daniel 3, with Ezekiel 8:3 and Revelation 13 as to potential compromise in Yahuwah's worship and standing resolved to follow Yahuwah Elohim's instructions, even if it means death. Just like the good figs and rotten figs are false prophets, inept judges, corrupt priests, as well as wishy-washy kings and leaders are clearing the path of it to happen. How do Daniel 3, Ezekiel 8:3, and Revelation 13 compare to each other? It's at the heart of what compromise in worship is from the past and how it connects to the future. Being obedient to Yahuwah Elohim, taking a stand and trusting in his deliverance or his salvation in the time of trouble is what each of us has to do. A connection was made regarding what the image that Hananiah, Mishael and Azariah were asked to homage, constructed to be worshipped by all. It was possibly an obelisk. In the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, different words are translated into the English word image.
So each word is used depending on how the object is manifested. So that's the key to understanding how the word image is applied. So the Hebrew and Aramaic Greek words for images are, and this is in Daniel, this word, salama, and it means image, and this is only used in Daniel because it's written in Aramaic. So that's to be expected. This is pasel, which means a carved image, and this is used in the Torah and other places. The other word is samel, and it also means image, and again it depends on the context that word is used. And then in Greek, the image word is icon, which was very surprising to me. So whenever somebody called themselves an icon, I'm going to look at them very suspicious now. And then Edilon, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and that's another Greek word used for idol or image. And then molten image, which is something that is formed, is masikah in the Hebrew. So the case of the golden calf, that was the word that was used for image with the golden calf. So on the website, I'll be listing everything so you can go and look into each word usage so you'll get an idea of how each word was applied in the different aspects between each of the references we're going to be looking into in a while. So here is St. Peter's Basilica, and there we see the obelisk right in front of the crowd, and they are none the wiser of what is happening before them. As shown, there are various words used for image. The image can be considered the visible representation of the God who wants to remain unseen. Our Elohim, Yahuwah, does not need such objects to represent himself. Just look at creation. It is his fingerprint. The word usage would depend on how it's formed by the maker and its visual attributes. When the priest and prophet Ezekiel was taken through the temple, just about when Yahuwah's presence was about to permanently depart and never return, he was shown the fallen state of the house of Levi. And this is from Ezekiel 8, verse 3.
And he stretched forth the likeness of a hand, took me by the crown of my head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and sky and brought me to Jerusalem in a vision of Elohim, to the porch of the gate that looks to the north, where was the pillar of the purchaser.
Now what I've done is also included the Masoretic reading because a lot of people will be more familiar with it.
And he put out the shape of a hand and took me by a lock of my head, and a wind lifted me up between the earth and the heaven and brought me in the visions of God to Yerushalayim, to the door of the inner gate that looks towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provokes to jealousy.
Now, I did a little digging because when something seems to be totally far apart in terms of how it's phrased, you should, look a little deeper to see what's happening. So, in the case of the Septuagint, it says pillar of the purchaser. And I've used this image off to the extreme right to depict that pillar of the purchaser, and we'll get into it a little deeper. This is currently erected in the city of London. And this is called, as you can see in the caption, Cleopatra's Needle. And it's in the heart of the financial district of the world, which is the city of London. So I'm just using this to sort of juxtapose what this pillar of the purchaser could possibly be. So in the case of the Septuagint, the following Greek word is used to indicate the erected object. I'm not going to pronounce that Greek word. I could not even find a Strong's Greek number for it, but it denotes pillar or steel, and there's another word that they use, which I think I'll be putting onto the website. So I find it odd that I could not find a Strong's Greek number for this particular word, but I did the next best thing.
When the Greek word is Googled, pillar, or steel, or stele, the following images and many others is presented. This Greek word also seems to be associated with the spine, which is the column of the body. Though the Masoretic and Septuagint phrase it differently, they are pointing in the same direction as to what this image of worship object, thing that is unsanctioned, could be. This is total, willful disrespect to YHWH Elohim by the priest in his charge at the temple. At least they could have established such an object outside the precinct of YHWH's house. But there is nothing new under the sun. Does a steeple on a church come to mind?
So as much as the house of Levi, the priest, had jurisdiction over the temple and everything pertaining to it, they still allowed the kings who were despicable in the sight of Yah to do these things in his holy place. So we have a situation where the priest did not follow through on their mandate, and hence a lot of unsanctioned things began to happen at the temple. So those two images after that Greek word was Googled is what was presented. So it's a clear indication that that word does mean the pillar, or at least something that is erected in the form of a visual image, as you can see. So one of them is taken from Istanbul, Turkey, and the other is called the column of Akkadius. And you can go and look into these things a little bit further to get some clarity on what they are.
But those are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're downtown Calgary, everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Within Revelation 33, attributed to end-time prophecy, an image of worship presents a dilemma in the same vein as Daniel 3. Beginning in Revelation 12, and I'll be doing a synopsis, it introduces one of three figures, who by his action causes the woman to give birth, and that's to the Anointed One, and subsequently head into the wilderness for protection. The woman represents Israel being birthed from the nations, and we can tie this into the second Exodus, as she is crowned with 12 stars representing each tribe. The, in quotes, great red dragon, probably Lucifer and not Hasatan, was casted out of heaven, and you can go read Isaiah 14 and Amos 9:2, and wants to destroy her before giving birth, but was prevented. The child that was born, the Anointed One, and you can read Isaiah 11 and Jeremiah 23, Daniel 7 and Mark 11:6-2, took up his position as the priest next to Elohim, not like the one in Genesis 14:18. And the woman that birthed him, Israel, went into the wilderness to hide. A war ensued with the loyal messengers, angels, fighting the dragon and his forces, but did not prevail. So we did a little talk on the difference between the serpent, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, etc., back when we did Genesis chapter 3, when the serpent did its thing. So it would be nice to go back to get some clarity on that, why we are saying that, and even when we get into Revelation 13, we can validate what is being said. So this is from Revelation 12:17.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Jesus Christ or Yeshua.
And this is very important. It does not say honor what your church father says. It does not say whatever Pastor Bob says or Rabbi Julia says. That's what we're going to do. It says those which keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of the Anointed One. That's straightforward, nothing ambiguous about it.
And again, we now know what testimony means, and you can refer to the previous studies for that.
Right.
I can't look at that word ever the same again.
And you can cross-reference with Daniel chapter 12 and Isaiah 27 for more context with that. Okay, so moving on. So worship no other gods or images, and this is into Revelation chapter 13.
This sets the stage for Revelation 13 in the heart of false worship with future similar circumstances like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Revelation 13, 1-18, starting at verse 1.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
So that's the typical representation of the beast off to the right. But let's get into my comments here. The typical understanding is that this beast is a representation of nations using the scroll of Daniel to build on this interpretation. For a moment, what if the description is taken literal and this beast is actually coming up from the deep, and this is Tamhum or Abyssos? This would certainly change the end time dynamic. The name of blasphemy can be similar to Baal, meaning a name greatness is attributed about Yahuwah Elohim.
Sorry, can you clarify that?
So, in other words, what could be blasphemy is someone with the title of Baal trying to get that greatness of Yahuwah Elohim attributed to their name. So that's what I'm trying to bring forward there. So that's the blasphemy. I am Baal, I am your Elohim. That's more or less what this blasphemy could be. Verse 2.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Hence, the great red dragon cannot be Satan, given that in Christianity and Messianic dogma, Satan has to be the main agitator to Yahuwah Elohim who misleads the people. This first beast has to have greater authority than the dragon for him to transition his power to him. This beast can be the, in quote, God of forces spoken of in Daniel. And this is from Daniel chapter 11, verse 36 to 38.
And he shall do according to his will, and the king shall exalt and magnify himself against every god, and shall speak great swelling words, and shall prosper, until the indignation shall be accomplished, for it is coming to an end. And he shall not regard any gods of his fathers, nor the desire of women, neither shall he regard any deity, for he shall magnify himself above all. And he shall honor the God of forces on his place, and a God whom his fathers knew not he shall honor with gold and silver, and precious stones and desirable things.
So this god, this beast that is coming up out of the waters could be a god, aka the god of forces potentially, and the beast is giving homage to this, not the beast, but the dragon is giving homage to this beast. So that whole concept of the dragon being Satan kind of falls short, because here we have something else coming up and it's being worshipped as well, and seems to have equal power also, or even greater power.
Now, does it, in verse 38 there, he shall honor the God of forces on his place, and a God? Is there another one? Is that two, or is that mean it's the same?
Yeah,
one
that's
and the
a good
same?
catch. That could be another God as well.
Okay.
So let's continue. So no other gods or images, Revelation 13. So we're in verse 3.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Both the dragon and the beast one are worshipped. The focus then shifts to the beast one, who gains much people, maybe more than the dragon. People are in awe and submit to their authority. So here we have two entities co-ruling the people. So again, which one is Satan, which one is otherwise? Doesn't make sense if the dragon is Satan. Verse 5.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
The great things and blasphemies can be the beast taking credit for everything that Yahuwah Elohim has done, given the miracles that were just enacted. So the beast did its miracles. So this is from Isaiah 45:18.
Thus says Yahweh that made the heaven, this Elohim that created the earth and made it, he marked it out, and he made it not in vain, but formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahweh, and there is none beside.
So this God is trying to be in the place of Yahuwah as the creator of all things, and the Lord of all lords, and the Elohim of all Elohims. So this is the blasphemy that he is going to try and pull, and we are all going to fall for it because we don't know who the true Elohim of Israel is. Well, not us, but some people are going to fall for it.
Yeah, someone's going to fall for it. Many are.
Verse 7.
And it was given unto him to make more war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world.
Key thing here, worship him. So this is the beast that is getting worshipped, not the dragon in some regards. So comment, the saints are the house of Israel. And again, this is coming back to the heart of what this unsanctioned worship is and why a lot of people are going to get trapped in it. And we need to be very attentive to what is being said. So this is from Psalm 49, 15 in Masoretic, verse 4 and 5.
He shall summon the heaven above and the earth, that he may judge his people. Assemble you his saints to him, those that have engaged in a covenant with him upon sacrifices.
Now we know that Israel is the one that engaged with sacrifices. So this can't be Saint Augustus or Saint Bartholomew or any other saint that people think is real saints out there. This is something specific, and again, because your church leaders have put words into your biblical narrative, you are being misled to look at something that is not really what it should be.
Again, another hijacking of, just creating a wrong definition
for things.
For
so
a word. Another
once,
word hijacked.
Once we are wrong in the beginning, we are always going to be wrong, and it's going to compound. So our next reference, Psalm 148:14.
And he shall exalt the horn of his people. There is a hymn for all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people who draw near to him.
All right, so again, we see saints as something that is specific, and we need to always define, our terms based on what the Bible says and not what church fathers say or our pastor or rabbis or whomever says. Always let the Bible define what things are for you, and that way you would not be led astray. So the dragon and the beast had power over all kindreds and tongues and nations, the same as King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. So it's the same situation that's happening again with Daniel 3, that is happening with Revelation 13. So if we look out into our current situation across the earth, we see that all kindreds and tongues and nations are forming to make this situation happen again. So this is from Daniel 3, verse 4 to 5.
Then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, you peoples, tribes, and languages, at what hour you shall hear the sound of the trumpet, and pipe, and harp, and sackbut, and psaltery, and every kind of music, you shall fall down and worship the golden image which King Nebuchadnezzar has set up.
So we see the image being highlighted in Daniel 3. If we go back to Revelation 7 and 8, we also... rock music, as being told, is that music that's going to be played for you. Jesus is King, brings anything to mind, and let's leave it like that.
It's she doesn't know. Maybe you don't. Yeah, it's the Kanye West
album.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the rock music. So and again, as you see, there's a parallel with Daniel 3. Everything is happening by the book. So Daniel 3 compares back with Revelation 13, 7 and 8. Again, all the things are coming together in terms of the kindred, the tongues, and the nations. So this is, as per the narrative, your name has to be written in the scroll of the book of life. You could go to Daniel 12 to get more context to that. There is no rapture.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
As per the narrative...
No.
What?
After Daniel 12 there, what did you say there?
Oh, there is no rapture.
Sorry, say it one more time.
There is no rapture.
Okay, continue.
Whichever version you choose to believe to escape this, you have to worship Yahuwah in spirit and in truth.
And not that we're getting into the whole rapture thing today, but there is a gathering.
There is a gathering. There is a gathering of the remnant.
Yeah.
But it's to restore Israel, hence...
prototype of Exodus of Israel.
Exodus and everything from the news story all the way into here. There is a pattern. And yes, it's sort of deviating away from, Genesis 24, but it's still in context because it's about worship.
We're
and what-
understanding a deeper
Yeah.
way, a depth of what worship truly is, and the distinctive of praise and worship, and the seriousness of unsanctioned worship. So
and
yes, this
how-
is important.
And how it leads to the problems in Revelation 13. So this is verse 9.
If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
So there's the saints being spoken of again, and songs like eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. The law through Moses is still in effect, and you can go read Isaiah 14, 1 and 2 to get more context. So still on worship, no other gods or images, Revelation 13, and we're in verse 11.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon.
The second beast, beast 2, is coming up from the earth, possibly Hades, as opposed to the first beast coming up from the sea. So there's a clear distinction between where these 2 beasts are originating from, and this needs to be one of the key things to pay attention to. Because much as we want to think each beast represents a nation, at the same time, they are coming from different locations. So this should give you an idea that it could be something more than just a nation. So just like the first beast, for a moment, take everything literal. He has attributes of the dragon in speech, meaning that he may have the same blood and relations, but still trying to present itself as a good entity in the similitude of a lamb. Additionally, there is also a parallel with the hierarchy of the divine council, like YHWH Elohim, the anointed one, and his prophets. So we have the dragon, beast 1 and beast 2. That's their hierarchy that is coming into the limelight, so to speak. So verse 12.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So beast 2 does not have the authority as the beast 1, but commands the same type power. This might be a temporary fixture until beast 1 heals. He does not accept worship, but ensures that beast 1 gets all the worship once he is healed. Additionally, is there precedent for a nation, kingdom, republic, etc. to be worshipped in the canonized or extra-biblical source scriptures? So the question is, can you worship a nation? Doesn't make sense. That's not a precedent in the scriptures. Everybody bows the knee to something, and it's typically not a nation. So continuing, worship is specific and directed towards a deity, a person, inanimate object, or a representation of the worshipped. Hence, it is reasonable to reassess the representation of the beast and the dragon. Beast 2 tongue may be smoother than oil and slicker than an auctioneer to keep the charade going. People get mesmerized by smooth talkers and distracted from making an informed decision about them. So this is from 1 Samuel 16, 6 and 7.
And it came to pass when they came in that he saw Eliab, and said, Surely Yahweh's anointed is before him. But Yahweh said to Samuel, Look not on his appearance, nor on his stature, for I have rejected him. For Elohim sees not as man looks, for man looks at the outward appearance, but Elohim looks at the heart.
And this is why a lot of people are going to fall for the honey trap, because they are not looking at the heart of these entities. They are just listening to every...
And they don't know scripture. Because if they knew the scriptures and they were reading the scriptures, they would see it. They would have the spiritual discernment to see it for what it is.
So be like our Elohim and look at the heart of the person, not just their outward appearance, because we are going to be tricked. Hence, we have the politicians that we get. So verse 13.
And he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live.
And that same word for image in Greek that was used back in Daniel, as well as in some other areas throughout the Torah, is the same word, that icon, I think it is. So, same words used in Revelation is the same word used in Daniel. So it is to show continuity with what this image is. Things does not change. Babylon may put on a new pair of clothing, but its characteristics remain the same on the back end. So whatever the image was with Daniel is the same image that's going to be in Revelation 13. It's not going to change. So with the advancement in technology, much of which the peoples of the earth are not fully aware of, copying YHWH Elohim is what these two would try to do. Just like the Pharaoh's servant with Moses and Aaron. So in other words, Beast 2 is trying to do exactly what Yah is doing, and again this continues the blasphemy. It would fool the people because they did not have a love for the truth and are given up to their own devices. Beast 2 commissions an image of worship to Beast 1. It does not necessarily have to be in its likeness, and it's in the same vein when Nebuchadnezzar or Nebuchadnezzar commissioned an image to be built. He did not want the worship, he directed the worship towards the image. Verse 15.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
The image dedicated to Beast 1 is given life. This is witchcraft technology at work, much in the same as the miracles performed by Beast 2. Unfortunately, those who now decide to take a stand against Beast 1 and 2 and the dragon are doing so too late. Once they have come to realize that they are wicked in their devices, taking a stand would cost these people their life. If their names are not written in the scroll or the book of life, as we would see in Patois, dog eat your supper. Other words, no resurrection to life. And you can read Isaiah 26 for more background into this. So continuing, no other gods or images, Revelation 13. Verse 16.
And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man may buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
At the moment, there are many views as to what the mark of the beast is. The commonly held view is technology such as RFID, 5G, smart devices, Internet of Things, that is providing interconnectivity in the miniature scale, which can be embedded into people. So even on your bank card, there is RFID chips. When you go to scan it, it gets your information. The internet is the mechanism to merge all of the powers together. With it, and leading towards digital currency, people can be controlled. So all the Bitcoin and everything else people are running after, again, once they got you hooked on it like drugs, you can't get off it, just like a credit card. You can't get off the credit card. The system is going to switch on you, and then they can control your every aspect of life. So that's just one view of what the mark of the beast could potentially be. So verse 18.
Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
So in trying to distinguish, and this is the second beast depiction here, looking like a lamb but sinister on the back end. So anybody with a smooth tongue, pay close attention, because the outward appearance is not what you need to look at. You need to look at the heart of the individual. So there are varying views attributed to the mark of the beast. So before we are looking at what its physical mark could be, now we're looking at what this person or who this person could potentially be. Recently, it was highlighted that the mark could be, in quotes, the name of Allah of Islam. This might be misdirection. Yeah, this might be misdirection, but whatever the mark is, Israel is not in Babylon to partake of a people's missteps and submit to false worship of images. So off to the right, there is what another opinion is about what the mark of the beast could be, based on some of the Greek manuscripts that is out there.
It's actually the same as the name of Allah.
That
Actually the same as the high size signa.
Hold that thought.
So in
Give
the
you the-
Catholic
hang-
Church, the high size signa is
Say it
exactly-
again.
Is exactly that, and that term number of his name. If you look up that word number, it actually can also be symbol, not number.
Okay.
He has wisdom. Look at the symbol of this
Symbol of
name,
his name.
which comes through the Catholic Church with the Jesus Christ high size signa, the symbol that you see always around with that venerated sun thing. They put those old numerals, those things. It's the high psi signet. It's the same as the Allah thing, which is tying it all together.
Yep.
Interesting. So there is another view about what this mark of the beast is, and recently there was a resurgence with people finding information that it's actually the Jesuits who instructed Muhammad through his wife Khadijah to start Islam. So there's a connection back to Catechism of Islam. So moving on, like Daniel 3, people are getting caught up in euphoria with the beast and the serpent, dragon of Revelation 13.
The peoples of all tribes, kingdoms, tongues are asked to worship the image of Beast 1. Refusal means death. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah knew who their Elohim was and stayed obedient to his commandments, given through his servant Moses, and kept by the Anointed One to the letter. There's no workaround to keeping his commandments, as it leads to your salvation.
So in other words, don't go making up new commandments or saying that his commandments were done away with and Jesus is your righteousness, so you don't have to do anything.
No.
The one who sins, pay for their sins.
Yeah.
You ain't getting righteousness through anybody else. You have to build your own righteousness.
Yep. Now salvation. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were saved from the wicked device of the king of Babylon. The people who realize their mistake too late have to face the consequence of their actions. False worship is a serious matter and should not be brushed aside lightly. Currently, unsanctioned worship is intermingled with the things of YHWH Elohim. He is not being a dictator by requiring obedience to his commands. It is your protection in a sick and twisted world that is degrading in real time before our eyes, as stated in the scroll of the prophet Daniel.
So this is from Daniel chapter 11, verse 32. And the transgressor shall bring about a covenant by deceitful ways. But the latter part is what is important. All of it is important because a lot of deceit is going to be coming. But if people knowing their God or their Elohim will prevail and do valiantly.
Amen.
And that's the key thing. Keep his commandments.
Yep.
Follow them. It may not make sense to you. You may not understand it. But do it. It's your life. So we are in verse 49, and just to wrap that up, that's the heart of what worship should be in order to avoid situations like that. Understand what true worship is of Yah, and these things could be avoided coming up in the future.
Okay, so just to reiterate, this is Eliezer, is his name?
Yep.
That is talking here. If then you will deal mercifully and justly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. And Laban and Bethuel answered and said, This matter has come forth from YHWH. We shall not be able to answer you good or bad. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go away, and let her be wife to the son of your master, as YHWH has said.
So this is Yahuwah spoke. So does Rebekah's father. Abraham's servant is now asking for permission to have Rebekah become the wife of Isaac. Abraham's nephew Bethuel comes out of the shadow and gives permission along with his son. Up to this moment, it seemed that Laban had a dominating role in this family. So Bethuel has a number of meanings. It means God destroys, which was surprising, or man of God, or dweller in God. So he has a very powerful name, Bethuel. They had no issues with Rebekah becoming the wife of Isaac. They have the tangible evidence that their daughter is going to be okay, and both men, her father and brother, sanctioned the union. They acknowledged that the entire situation is from YHWH, which should have more weight than the wealth of Abraham. And a little bit of family understanding here. It's a very complicated family tree, and it's important to understand who is who, and to build a big picture of the whole house of Terah and the different branches that there is and how they intermingle with each other. So it's important to study this because this will keep reoccurring in the whole narrative. So moving forward, verse 52 to 54.
And it came to pass when the servant of Abraham heard these words, he bowed himself to YHWH down to the earth. And the servant having brought forth jewels of silver and gold and raiment, gave them to Rebekah, and gave gifts to her brother and to her mother. Both he and the men with him ate and drank and went to sleep. And he arose in the morning and said, Send me away, that I may go to my master.
Worship, thankfulness, and gifts. In thankfulness, Abraham's servant worshipped Yahuwah Most High. Every moment of thankfulness in your heart, send forth worship and praise to Yahuwah Elohim. The servant gives extravagant gifts to Rebekah. Her acceptance and consent is another stage in becoming Isaac's wife. It is a legal transaction, and these gifts are a visual reminder of the offer and acceptance. A brave woman without knowing much about Isaac and the land she would be heading to, except by the say-so of the man that is presenting them to her.
Gifts are also bestowed on Laban and his mother, Rebekah's mother too, in brackets. No mention of Bethuel, as if he is not deserving of presents as well. Bethuel not being mentioned in receiving gifts might be an indication of his low status in the household. Additionally, Rebekah's willingness in wanting to leave and become a total stranger's wife is something to be duly noted. With all of the recounting, worshipping, eating, and sleeping, the servant of Abraham is ready to hightail it out of the city of Nahor and return to the tent of his master.
So this is verse 55 to 57.
And her brethren and her mother said, Let the virgin remain with us about 10 days, and after that she shall depart. But he said to them, Hinder me not, for Yahweh has prospered my journey for me. Send me away that I may depart to my master. And they said, Let us call the damsel and inquire at her mouth.
Delay, let me be on my way. Rebekah's brother and mother wanted to delay her departure. No input from her father Bethuel, who should be the one to say yea or nay. The only source that discusses the situation is rabbinic, and they insert midrash into discussions which we do not agree with.
We should put do not in thicker, do not.
But the point is just to show that the fact that Bethuel is missing, they are also looking at it, and it's something we should be looking at too as well. So what I've done with this section here, I've extracted all of the rabbinic stuff and just left the views of the author that is penning this piece together here. So this is called Rebekah's mother's household.
The reference to her mother's household as opposed to her father's household is unusual. In fact, in a similar story, when Jacob comes to Haran and introduces himself to Rachel, she runs to tell her father. Traditional commentators were already bothered by this problem. In fact, the continuation of the narrative makes it clear that mother's house is not a building only for women, and that Rebekah did not tell this privately to her mother, since her brother Laban is the one who runs out to the well to officially welcome Abraham's emissary.
Thus, we see that Rebekah told the story to her mother and brother, and that, in quotes, the mother's household is a general term for everyone in the family. But where is her father? The simple explanation is that her father was no longer alive, leaving the house nominally in the charge of her mother. But in this patriarchal society, it would be her mother's household only in name. A grown-up son would be in actual charge of the household, or at least in joint charge, and in fact, this is what we see in the story. Laban is effectively presenting himself as the head of the household, which would make sense if his father was deceased and it was his mother's household, but would be problematic if his father was still alive. Again, the servant is addressing Laban here and the person with whom negotiations will be conducted. And Laban, not Rebekah's father, gives the servant leave to speak. It is difficult to imagine such behavior if his father was still alive. Bethuel appears out of nowhere. The text makes no effort to explain where he was when the servant arrived, or why Laban acted as if he were in charge up until this point, or why the household is referred to as her mother's and not her father's, if he is alive. Moreover, why would Laban be listed before his father? So again, this question is being asked, and I'm asking the same question. And I'm asking the same question: is where is Bethuel in all of this? Because he should be the one calling the shots, and not his son Laban or his wife. So moving on to verse 58 to 61.
And they called Rebekah and said to her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. So they sent forth Rebekah their sister and her goods and the servant of Abraham and his attendants. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, You are our sister. Become thou thousands of myriads, and let your seed possess the cities of their enemies. And Rebekah rose up, and her maidens, and they mounted the camels, and went with the man. And the servant, having taken up Rebekah, departed.
Departure. Yes, I will. May our words come to pass. Rebekah decides to go as she was eager to bounce from the city of Nahor, her grandfather's legacy. Her mother and brother cannot stall because she is now joined to the household of Abraham by virtue of accepting the gifts. Maybe her father can stop her seeing that he did not receive any gifts by the hand of the servant. Then again, it seems that Bethuel is an absentee father. We cannot or should not look on Bethuel in a judgmental light. Here is a plausible reason he does not have a leading role in his household. So the first one is his business dealings has him away from the city. Does his son and wife have to manage the affairs of the home? Just a thought of why this could be a situation. But this one I prefer much more.
He can be in ill health and incapable of having the leading role in his house. This is a common situation for anyone, both ancient and modern. Laban commands as much authority as his mother in the home. The eldest son in the house would take up the slack for his father once he is of age.
So Bethuel could be sick and not in a position to really exercise the role that the men typically do in that society. So his wife and his eldest son took up that slack, and he's just living until such time. So it's not that he doesn't want the role. It could be that he's in a position where he can't do the role. So that's the situation that we see here with Rebekah and her mother and her brother. So Rebekah bundled up all her goods. Another reason for the 10 camels. She is moving from city living to a nomadic life, and the camel symbolizes this transition. This would be a major change in her living conditions, but she's up to the challenge. She humbly fed 10 camels without a second thought. But she willingly chose to become Isaac's wife, making a commitment to the unknown, just like her great uncles Abraham and Lot. So we see that's why the family tree is there. You see that connection with everybody. Abraham, Lot, Bethuel, etc. Give up the old way for Yah's way. Let his words be a lamp for your feet and a light to your path.
Amen.
With a maid as a parting gift, a blessing was bestowed on
Hold
Rebekah.
that thought. Didn't it say maids?
It said maid?
Yeah,
It said maid?
it's plural.
Yeah, maids.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'll
She
have to edit that.
she got a bevy of maids.
Maidens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A blessing was bestowed on Rebekah before she departed. Become thou thousands of myriads, and let thy seed possess the cities of their enemies. This was never fully achieved with ancient Israel, but will be fulfilled with the future. And hence the opening news piece, everything connects. Once you understand how it connects, you'll be able to see everything as it's intended to be seen. So this is from Jeremiah chapter 28, 19 to 24.
Not such is Jacob's portion, for he that formed all things. He is his inheritance. YHWH is his name. You scattered for me the weapons of war, and I will scatter nations by you, and will destroy kings by means of you. And by you I will scatter the horse and his rider, and by you I will scatter chariots and them that ride in them. And by you I will scatter youth and maid, and by you I will scatter man and woman. And by you I will scatter the shepherd and his flock. And by you I will scatter the husbandman and his husbandry. And by you I will scatter leaders and the captains. And I will recompense to Babylon and to all the Chaldeans that dwell there all their mischiefs that they have done to Zion before your eyes, says YHWH.
So here's one instance where that prophecy or that blessing that was put upon Rebekah could be coming to pass with Jacob. Zechariah 9:13.
For I have bent thee, O Judah, for myself as a bow. I have filled Ephraim, and I will raise up your children, O Zion, against the children of the Greeks, and I will handle you as the sword of a warrior.
So here again is another instance where Judah and Ephraim, which represents Israel, the two houses, are going to be that instrument to make those blessings come to pass. Yah's word does not return to him void. So this is verse 62 and 63.
And Isaac went through the wilderness to the well of the vision, and he dwelt in the land toward the south. And Isaac went forth into the plain toward evening to meditate, and having lifted up his eyes, he saw camels coming.
From Hebron to Be'er-lahai-roi, long word, Be'er-lahai-roi. The caravan is coming. Here comes my bride. From the north to the south, Isaac is no longer in Hebron, but in Be'er-lahai-roi, other words, the well of vision. This is the same well that his brother's mother Hagar met with the angel after she ran away from her mistress Sarah. And this was back in Genesis 16 Bible study. Now he is living in this land after the death of his mother. A change of location does bring clarity, and you begin making a new life. He is in the field of contemplating or meditating, maybe hoping that the well of the living one seeing me comes to his appearance. So to meditate is su'ah, and that means to meditate, muse, commune, speak, or complain. Or complain.
And this word is only used once in the Tanakh.
And
Why'd you put that?
yep, there's a reason, because when people think about meditate, that's the first
they
thing that
automatically
comes
think
to
that.
mind. And we want to ensure that you get the right understanding of what is taking place here. So this is what other people do. This is not for Yamos. I already told you how to do things pertaining to him, especially where true worship is concerned.
The word meditate tends to have negative connotations to it, as it's often associated with pagan religions. Hence, a more appropriate word should be commune, as he would be praying to Yahuwah at a quiet moment of his day at the well of vision. Aptly so, as answered prayers approaching in the camel caravan, his father sent his trusted servant on a mission to find him a wife, and she now approaches to close the deal.
So let me read that section again. So that led into that. He is in the field contemplating or meditating, maybe hoping for the, in quotes, well of the living one seeing me would also appear to him. That's just, some poetic words about him being in the field meditating. So verse 46, 64 and 65, sorry.
And Rebecca lifted up her eyes and saw Isaac, and she alighted briskly from the camel and said to the servant, "Who is that man that walks in the plain to meet us?" And the servant said, "This is my master." And she took her veil and covered herself.
She may have been pleasantly surprised to see this handsome figure walking up to her and saying, "Wow, I scored big time."
Who is that man?
Yeah. The beloved son. Here they come, the first encounter. And this is depicted by Isaac meets Rebecca in Lego Desert.
Why cover yourself while being uncovered in the presence of the servant? Seems somewhat regressive behavior.
And this is from an article called The Complicated History of Head Scarves.
The earliest known recorded reference to veiling, the act of covering one's hair with cloth, comes from a 13th century BC Assyrian text that describes the practice as reserved for aristocratic women and forbidden for prostitutes and those of lower social status, who were punished if they were caught in head coverings. Long before that, however, ancient Greek, Roman, Byzantine, and Persian societies all engaged in the practice of veiling, also using it as a marker of social rank. These customs ultimately trickled down into the Abrahamic religions that emerged from the region. Both early Christian and Jewish traditions used the veil as a measure of piety. In Judaism, women who were married were required to cover their hair. This is a practice still observed in some Orthodox Jewish communities today.
Keep note, it says Judaism. That's a key word to pay attention to, not the Bible, Judaism.
In Christianity, veiling was a requirement for women who entered church and still is in certain traditions. St. Paul's letters to the Corinthians explicitly reference this, stating that every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head.
And again, there is context to this, but unfortunately, everything where his epistles are concerned would always be misinterpreted because people choose not to go back to the Torah. But that's a whole other discussion by itself.
The most iconic female figure in Christianity, the Virgin Mary, is often depicted as wearing a veil in paintings and stonework. The Catholic Church once required women to cover their heads during Mass, a matter codified into canon law in 1917. but this edict was officially discarded in the 1980s. Today, the practice of veiling in church continues in many Eastern Christian communities, especially those in the Orthodox tradition, where rules for covering hair for women and removing hats for men upon entering churches are enforced.
And quite recently, the Eastern Orthodox, under the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, welcomed back many of the priests who had split off a few years ago. So they are rebuilding their ranks, just a little side note. So would Rebecca have been covered in her father's house? Maybe not. We know she was not covered in the caravan with the servant, but upon approaching Isaac, she covered herself, and maybe for a simple reason. So this is from something called BibleErrata.com. There exists very often among Christians the error of confusing Muslim customs with the custom of biblical times. Many believe, including some scholars and professors of seminaries, that women in biblical times lived with their faces covered by a veil like the Muslim women of today. There is no such thing. As a nuptial custom, a woman used a veil to present herself before the man who she was going to marry, but that was only for that purpose. The rest of her activities and life, she walked around with her face uncovered. So this is just a little excerpt to show that the veil is nothing more than just a nuptial custom, and there is no sort of extra burden about that being upon a woman. Unfortunately, everything is taken out of context, and we end up with errors in terms of how we interpret the scriptures. So that's the simple reason. So moving on, verse 66 and 67.
And the servant told Isaac all that he had done, and Isaac went into the house of his mother and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted for Sarah, his mother.
Comfort. A woman's touch does so much. The ceremony, no fanfare, no witnesses. The deal is done. Isaac and Rebekah are now married. The marriage process begins with Abraham sending his servant to his father's house to find a bride for his son. This would be known to Isaac. Though an adult, he is still subject to his father and would have agreed to the arrangement. The servant gave Isaac a play-by-play account of his, in quote, testimony in finding a wife for him. This would take a while, and most likely a meal would be had. Abraham's servant's action and Yahuwah's support made the path clear for Rebekah to accept becoming a wife to a man she never met. She accepted by taking all the gifts presented and departing with the servants, and also not getting delayed on account of her mother and brother. She's heading to become the new leading lady of Sarah's house, which now belongs to her son. At that, all that would have been Sarah's is now Rebekah's. With her maidservants, or should be maidservants, they both would spice up the place, and Rebekah would bring much needed comfort as a person languishing in a thirsty desert to Isaac, her husband. At this moment, he would be longing for the love of a woman that meets all of the requirements of a good wife. Her character in attending to the camels and the stranger show the type of woman she is, and expect no less when she is in the tent of her husband.
A major void was created in Isaac's life when his mother died. Living in a wilderness, how many friends one would have compared to if you were living in a built-up city? As the day ends and the servant finishes his report to Isaac, and likely the servant, Isaac and Rebekah would have worshipped Yahuwah and given him thanks for everything. This is at the heart of worship to our Holy One of Israel. Isaac and Rebekah are now one flesh, extending the tent pegs of Abraham in the land of their sojourning.
So a new marriage, and it's loading, and it's continuing with Isaac and Rebekah. So this is the end of part 3 of Genesis chapter 24, a wife for my beloved son. Question, comments?
Well, I just think
Hold, wait.
such a parallel to what we're heading into in the last days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallel there. I found it interesting with the 10 camels, them saying in the mother and the brother saying, "Oh no, let her remain with us for up to 10 days." 10 days being a thing even in the book of Revelation. Even the brother's name is very, very symbolic of the Bethel, the false image of a false Christianity that we have today, and also wanting to pull back and hold the bride from leaving and walking out, as in, come out of Rome, my people, and be ye separate, right?
Yeah.
And the persecution in Revelation it talks about can last up to 10 days, right? So I do think that there's a lot of symbolic stuff there, and her just leaving and going to meet her bridegroom and all these things, right? Of where we're heading now.
And not knowing everything and still doing that.
Right.
So, yeah.
But also having accepted the terms of the marriage covenant by accepting the gifts, just like we are to do. Like when you come figuratively to Mount Sinai and you say, yes, all this we will do, and this is where we will go. And anyways, I just find it very fascinating. And it ties into the book of Revelation in my mind hugely.
And this is why it's important for reading the scripture as it is written.
Not with all these other filters we've been handed from organized religion.
Because you're going to miss over the hedges. You're just going to get stuck in the thicket.
Yep.
And unfortunately, right now you can see a lot of people stuck. Especially, one of the questions, if people are following the current narrative is Kanye West a Christian? It's not important. Live your life. You follow what is right. Let everybody else figure it out for themselves. So, and that's the bottom line.
You need to be certain for yourself.
For yourself. Forget about...
Yeah.
And I like the part about the lifting of her head.
Oh, say it in the mic.
The lifting of her head, which was, I thought, very cool, because, he's the lifter of our head when we meet our bridegroom, right?
Right.
What was the other thing? Oh, the maidens that were sent with her. Like, there's a difference in my mind, when it talks about the friends of the bridegroom versus the bride, or even like the 10 virgins, for example, versus the bride. I think a lot of confusion is in a lot of people's minds because they don't know how to differentiate that. But it's a little different, right? And I just think that even when it's describing that with her, very symbolic of where we're heading to.
Yeah, very good.
So, that's it for the comments. Thank you all for being a part of this Bible study.